The future of gaming is brought to you by the Samsung Galaxy S3.
From wearable computers to virtual reality headsets, brain-powered, tongue-powered, and everything sci-fi in between, the future of gaming is happening now. And IGN is here to take a closer look at the groundbreaking technologies that will influence the way you play video games in the near future.
The future of gaming.
Previously, IGN has featured many cutting-edge trends and technologies that are set to transform the video game space in the next 5 years. But what about 10 to 20 years from now? What crazy, futuristic technology that hasn't even been invented yet will be worth the hype? Join IGN as we discuss the promising and not so promising distant future of the video game universe. Then, later, IGN gets a hands-on look at the Oculus Rift, the up-and-coming virtual reality headset that promises to deliver a truly immersive sci-fi experience. Is our technology finally catching up to our childhood dreams? Find out next on IGN's Future of Gaming.
The distant future.
From wearable computers and holodecks to brain and tongue-powered controllers, even the most far-fetched technologies may only be a few years away. But among all the fads and false promises floating through the video game sphere, IGN takes a closer look at which video game technologies are truly worth the wait.
I think the two most exciting things about the future of gaming are, HCI, the way human-computer interface develops, like the way we interact actually with games will change fundamentally, and then the disappearance of the box.
With the Wii U and the new PlayStation and Xbox, we're going to potentially see the last type of console platform. With things like Ouya coming out, and then other services that I'm sure are going to come up around that, what I would hope to see is everything to sort of be unified in one place.
There's going to be things like new input devices. Are we actually going to have better body tracking for things like Kinect? I think Kinect kind of showed you can do some interesting things with the system. It's a little bit basic or primary at this point, but I can see it to the point where you're actually seeing finger manipulation and you're able to actually manipulate things in a game almost in a Minority Report style setting.
So I think we have one full generation of consoles left. The PlayStation 4, the next Xbox, certainly the Wii U. But after that, I cannot imagine that we will still be using boxes to play video games on the same way that we do now, right? When you get rid of the actual box, the console that has to do all the, the graphical processing, the audio and everything, if that box is located remotely and all your games are in the cloud and being streamed to you, that's when I think real technical innovation and really kind of, things can accelerate much faster.
We're already using cloud-based technology right now to get access to content. I think it's only going to expand in the future. I mean, the real key is bandwidth, and there's plenty of people around the country that still are operating on sort of medium to low level internet speeds, and it's harder to serve a mainstream audience with that, but 5 to 10 years from now, I imagine things are going to open up significantly.
So once we get broadband penetration in the States, once we get, especially with fiber optics, it's really interesting what Google is doing now in Kansas City, where they're talking about this 100 megabit stream fiber optics that they're laying. Once that gets across the entire country and we're able to move a lot more data a lot faster, you don't need as much power in your local hardware because you can handle it at server farms.
Like from what I've seen from brain-powered control and tech, right now it's really only able to measure sort of binary functions like on or off or go or stop.
Right now when you're playing games like, you want to open a door in a game or you want to take an item, you have to take the physical action, you have to think about it, you have to take the action, you have to hit a button, you have to do all these things when, in a lot of ways you could just be thinking about it, right? And, until the devices are really sophisticated where you can, in an affordable device, think a word and it actually writes it out or uses it, that's going to be quite a while still. There are lots of people out there who are thinking of new ways for gamers to interface with the games, for example, Gabe Newell, one of the things he even brought up was tongue controlling, where you would have a device that would let one of the strongest muscles in your body, the tongue, control something in a video game.
I think this idea of tongue controls is completely and totally nasty, but I can't imagine having something in your mouth where you're using your tongue to control and then taking it out, and then where do you put it after that?
I mean, the idea of a tongue controller is sort of scary. I just don't know what it would be used for other than something that I probably wouldn't want to show my kids. So.
You know, I think the idea of a holodeck is really attractive to, you know, not just gamers, but any geek who wants to be in a world other than our own. And so I do think that we're going to take steps closer to being transported to a virtual world, but, you know, not literally the way it's done in Star Trek. But I think the first steps will be, you know, VR goggles, like the Oculus Rift, where you wear goggles and you're already removing one of the actions that you had to use your mouse or your hand, your controller for.
I was really amazed by that technology. I mean, I played Doom 3 with it, and you turn your head and it pretty much tracks you in real time. There's very little lag there, and, you know, and they're still working on this system to make it even more realistic. But you get to the point where you're walking around and your natural inclination of your body is to lean forward when you're walking. And so it takes a little while to get used to, but I really do find it interesting now that we're almost at a level where the technology can keep up with what, I guess, the idea of what we think virtual reality is supposed to be, and it's looking pretty good.
Virtual reality.
Virtual reality has gotten a bad rap over the last few decades, mainly because the concept emerged in the video game scene before its time. But could today's modern technology finally break the curse and make a once novel idea into a mind-blowing reality? IGN's Nick Vargas steps inside a video game and test drives the upcoming Oculus Rift to find out.
So Palmer, you founded Oculus and made the Rift. How long have you been interested in VR headsets?
Well, I've been interested forever and ever and ever since I was like a little kid, but I didn't actually start working on it, you know, actively until a few years ago.
And how did that come to be?
I was interested in stereoscopic 3D displays and a little bit in head-mounted displays, so I started picking up a few and trying them out. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. It's going to be like, you know, I'm inside the game, and I'm like, oh, well, this one isn't like you're inside the game. I'm like, well, I'm going to buy this one. I'm going to just budget a little more, and this time I'm going to spend a few hundred on a good one. I'm like, nope, still not inside the game. And so I actually kept doing that, and all the way to now where I have 43 unique head-mounted displays. And I realized, man, there's like nothing very good out there. And so I basically decided that I was going to have to make it myself or just give it up. And so I decided to try to make it myself, and if it didn't work, then I'd give it up.
So why do you think VR has sort of historically failed?
Well, I mean, it's been a combination of software and hardware. You've had hardware that wasn't quite good enough, not because the developers weren't competent or anything. It's not like I've figured out something where I've jumped over all these people's heads. They were doing the best they could with the hardware available at the time. So I think that the really big thing that's changed now is that the hardware is good enough to make really good virtual reality headsets. And because of that, you can show it to developers. They say, this is so cool that we really want to spend time on this. Not just because of some financial return, but just because we think it'd be super cool to be inside of our game and we want to do that.
Okay, so when can developers and Kickstart pledgers get their hands on the Oculus Rift?
So we have our developer kits, they're shipping in December, and actually we're going to be adding a purchase option to our website, so people who missed a Kickstarter will be able to get their hands on them. And when they ship in December, they'll have Doom 3 BFG Edition and Hawken ready to play at launch.
All right, so tell us about the demo we're about to go see.
The demo you're going to see is a single level from Doom 3 BFG Edition. And so we're going to put a headset on you, we're going to put some gaming headphones on you, and then you're going to get to play around in Doom 3.
Awesome, I'm excited. Let's go try it out.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome back to the real world.
Yeah, thanks. It's a little less scary here, but man, I'm blown away actually. That's pretty fantastic. I get why you have this support from developers right now. I haven't been that scared playing a video game, and I'm doing it in a room full of cameras.
And other people too.
Yeah, and people. But it doesn't really feel like you're playing with people. It feels sort of like you guys were just sort of extra like conscious that I knew it was fake, but I was actually felt very immersed in the game. So yeah, one thing that stands out to me immediately is that as soon as that was on my head, I just naturally knew how to control the game. I'm sure that could have implications for non-gamers as well, but even just having a controller in my hand and having it, I knew that that's just how I was going to use it, was looking side to side. Mm-hmm. That's not a question, but it's awesome.
Well, there's all kinds of different control schemes that developers come up with. This is one of them. You could also have independent weapon and head movement, so you can aim one way and look around. But there's going to be all kinds of different control schemes that the developers implement, and that's going to be really cool to see them play around with.
Mm-hmm. This is Carmack's implementation of the control scheme. So many different developers will implement it in different ways, but it is a pretty natural way. We've even found that people using this, when they pick up the controller and they're not great console players normally, when they use the head to look around and to aim, they actually have a much easier time playing the game than when they're trying to use some right analog stick, which isn't nearly as natural as using your head.
Well, now that I've experienced it, I cannot wait to get one. I can see why developers and consumers would be really excited about this. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Though the Oculus Rift may be little more than a prototype right now, the creators are striving hard to not only revolutionize the way you play video games, but to make VR headsets a staple in every gamer's household in the near future. And who knows what other technologies will be gracing our living rooms in the next 5, 10, or 20 years. Only one thing's for sure. The future of gaming is looking bright, and you can always find out the latest news on forward-thinking technologies here on IGN.com.